Welcome to another episode of Horror Vibes. This story is entitled Night Stalker. Before I start, I'd just like to say that this story is my own story. This story happened to me. The year was 2011. I was 20 years old. I lived at home with my parents, and I volunteered at a radio station. My parents lived a fair way out of town, so I would have to drive about 45 minutes to get to work every day. For 1 week, I was lucky enough to house sit for a co-worker who only lived 5 minutes away. It was a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in a shared complex. It was really convenient because my girlfriend at the time lived only a few minutes away as well, so we got to see each other more often. Working long hours at the radio station wasn't unusual at the time. Sometimes, I'd be working 12 to 14 hour days just to keep things running. I had a lot of project work to do, so I didn't mind. One night, I was leaving at about 9:30 p.m, and I felt like I was being watched, even before I left the building. I opened the door to the main entrance, set the alarm, and left. Now the radio station was located in bushland, so the car park was just gravel surrounded by the bush. As I walked to my car in the darkness, I felt something watching me from the bushes. I had never felt like this before, so I just tried to shrug it off as paranoia. I started my car and made my way to the apartment that I was staying at. A few minutes into the trip, I drove along a well-lit stretch of road in a suburban area. As I drove past them, 4 consecutive streetlights shut off, one by one. I pulled over out of fright and looked around. The night was still and silent. I started my car and continued driving back to the apartment, where I hoped I would feel safe. I got back to the apartment, made some dinner, and watched some TV. I remember I was watching How I Met Your Mother at the time. Suddenly, the power went out. That's odd, I thought to myself. Barely any appliances were on. I checked the fuse box and found the main switch had flicked off somehow. The others were on. I turned it back on. Another 10 minutes passed as I was watching my show. The power went out. Again. I turned the main switch back on and got to watching TV. Only some 5 minutes later the same thing happened again. I reset the switch in the fuse box again. I finished watching my show without any further interruption and decided it was time for bed. I had a shower and went to get changed into my pajamas. As I left the ensuite bathroom, I shut the door. This door was quite stiff to close and required a good amount of force to open, but when you close this door, it was latched tight. The hinges were also silent, which I noted was interesting for such a problematic door. I was sleeping out in the lounge room at the time, so I also shut the bedroom door behind me. As I started getting my pants on, I heard a very loud screeching growl noise coming from the bedroom. It was like nothing I had ever heard before, nor have I heard since. I was terrified. I immediately grabbed my clothes, shoes, and my car keys and ran out to my car to get out of Dodge. I drove as quickly as I could to the nearest place I felt safe. My girlfriend's house. Now, it was around 11 p.m. that I arrived there, so I had to be quiet not to wake her father up. I texted her at least 10 times and called her at least 5 times. Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime, she let me into the house. I explained everything that was happening and she reassured me that everything was okay. I was panicking, so we tried to get some sleep. By this point, everything had gone quiet, and I felt safe. Because of my newly found comfort, I pondered the possibility that I was just making things up in my head, and that I was just exaggerating based on my own anxiety. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt an intense presence enter the room. I tried to continue convincing myself that it was all in my head. Suddenly, my girlfriend said the words I will never forget. "There's something in the room with us." Right then and there, I knew that my paranoia was not just a product of my own made-up anxieties, but there really was something that had been following me. My girlfriend told me to ignore it and go to sleep, so I did. No further harm came to me that night. The next day, I woke up at about 7 AM. I got breakfast and made my way back to the apartment where I heard the noise. I walked through the front door and checked over everything. The fuse switch was still on, so I'm glad that didn't change. My sleeping bag and clothes had been thrown about. I opened the bedroom door to check the room where that horror-striking sound came from the previous night. To my horror, something had opened the bathroom door that was latched. Thanks for listening, guys. I know this story was shorter than normal, but I couldn't extend it much because this is what happened. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and if you've had any experiences like this, or you have any stories similar to this, please feel free to comment and I'll be sure to pin them. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a great day.